Hello, and welcome to Jason Cavness Experience. I'm your host, Jason Cavness. The Jason Cavness Experience is brought to you by Cavness HR. At Cavness HR, we deliver HR companies 49 or fewer people by automating HR and by providing an HR business partner. Our guest today is Don Rivers, Democratic candidate for the office of governor for the state of Washington. Don, thanks for being here today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
So I'd like to start with a softball question.
Okay.
So what are some of your hobbies what you like to do for fun?
Actually, I have one really nice thing that I do and it gets rid of frustration. I'll go to the hitting range and I'll take a ball and I'll put that person's name on it and I'll knock the heck out of it.
You talking about like a batting cage?
No, golf.
Oh, golf. Okay.
Yeah.
So you go to what's it called?
I call it the hitting
range.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how's your golf game?
Last time I played, I hit 2 holes in one.
Okay, nice.
The third hole in one they wanted me to do, there was a free Lexus. So they changed the hole.
Oh, wow.
And it went around the hole 3 times and went off. So I kind of like saved the dealership a Lexus.
So you have a group of friends you play with on a regular basis? Because golf's a great game, but you just can't play with any random person.
No, last one I did was a while ago with me and Lenny Wilkins. Lenny and I would host at a fundraiser.
Okay.
It's been years ago.
How often do you get to play?
When I'm frustrated.
Okay.
Frustration. Yeah. Good walking exercise game.
Do you have like a course you go to all the time? Do you like go to different ones?
If I see one I like, I'll stop for a minute or two.
Okay, yeah. I live down in DuPont, and about 6 years ago, maybe 8 years ago, the U.S. Open was down there at the University Place.
Yeah.
Chambers Best. That's a pretty challenging course.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Some of them, it's like a puzzle, and you have to figure them out before you play them, or your score is not going to be good.
No. How long you been playing?
I really don't play. I just play around.
So I got to ask you this: when you play, you're competitive, or you just there to have fun?
No, just to have fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. And you have any other hobbies?
Love basketball, love football, and thinking now to get a couple of guys together so we can start a pickleball league, a minority pickleball league.
I still don't get pickleball, to be honest with you. I just know some white people invented here and somewhere in Washington or whatever, I just don't get it right.
Well, I heard the history on it. I know that Senator John Lovett is involved with it, and he's a good friend of mine. Okay. And he introduced me to it with some other people and some retired Microsoft executives. And I liked the idea of it. I had to check it out first. But pickleball is an opportunity for seniors or middle-aged people to keep active more than anything. But you got to make sure your joints are right.
Oh, yeah.
Or get you some flexibility pills.
One false turn, you're
right.
gone.
You're gone.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So next, I told some people on Facebook that I'm connected with that you're coming on.
Right.
And so here's some questions from people I know.
Okay.
So the first one is Kathy Bayeslon. She's the president of Easter Seals.
Okay.
She wanted to know what two-part question. How you plan on playing like some quick relief for the homeless problem, and what's your long-term plan to help create a homeless problem?
There is no quick relief. It didn't take. It wasn't an instantaneous type thing to get us into it, and it's not going to be that way. I've told different organizations that the homeless is our most strongest area of resources, and we just haven't learned how to tap into it. And I will be showing individuals how to tap into that by understanding when your taxes are high and we keep using the same format for taxes, property taxes, school levies, and we keep introducing more funds onto it and adding onto it, you're adding opportunities for low income to not receive and homelessness to be further created. And so what we've done, we've got ourselves into a debacle area where homeless people are having more than one problem. So several people, if they're stressed, then they take a drug. If they're under pressure, they take a drug. And when you take too many of the drugs trying to find out how to get rid of the pain, the problem, you end up involved deeper. And when you get deeply involved, then now we got to find medical care. So the opportunity to deal with homeless first is a program we're going to introduce, which is called the 3L. and that's listen, learn, and then lead. People need to be heard, not a 2-minute session, not a 3-minute session, but healing comes from within. So if a person can talk their stuff in way out and talk their self to the point of letting you know exactly what's wrong with them and what the problem came from, we don't have a problem. We don't have a problem to get them out of it. I think we also have to look at creating new communities, sort of like a homeless city, okay, and go with it from there. Because I don't think we're looking at it and we're throwing money at it and they're throwing trash back at us. So it's not working because you can't make rules for people and then don't abide to the rules. Congressman Adam Smith just recently said that there's a problem in the industry or in the area for the programs because they're giving the money, but the people that are receiving the money, the foundations, are not paying their bill. So it needs to be a forensic audit. And I mentioned that in 2020 when I ran for governor, came in second in the Democratic Party behind the current governor, that we need forensic audits of different departments. Because if we don't have it, then we're still into the same flex. That's why I don't take everybody's endorsement. I'm not getting your endorsement to keep your crap going on. That's not going to happen. So we're going to fix these taxes. It will be taxation with representation, instead of just saying, oh, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm here 4 years. I'll be out of here. We're going to fix this and bring people in that want to fix it across the aisle as well as on my side of the aisle.
So like I have no proof for this, but I have a theory. Like obviously, like Amazon, Boeing, Microsoft give millions of dollars to homeless organizations, nonprofits, right? My thinking is like you said, like what if I'm making a 6-figure salary at a nonprofit, what incentive do I have to solve the problem, right? It seems like these people keep on getting money, 6 figures, and the problem isn't solved. Like people tell me all the time, back when Seattle was nice. I've been in this area since 2009. Seattle has never been nice, in my opinion. Right? It's always been like different degrees of worse, right? Yeah. And so next one, I'm gonna give you 2 examples. How can we solve this, right? So I don't know if you know this, but in the post office next to us, an elderly gym in front of the post office, right?
Okay.
2 or 3 people told me this. I don't know if it's true or not, but suppose he's been in front of the post for 12 years, right? People try to help him. He refuses. They think he has dementia. A few times police came, he wouldn't go. And supposedly 3 years ago, his daughter came and got him, right? He didn't want to go. She got the police involved and he went. He was back 3 months later. So he's there, right? And so I hate to see people like that, but what can you do, right? You can't, we can't put him in institution. We can't make him leave, but like, and like he doesn't bother anyone. Like, he doesn't like, he's not a criminal. He's polite, but he's still there, right? And the second example, there's a lady that walks around here, elderly lady, has a shopping cart, obviously has mental illness, right? Like if she was in this room today, she would probably cuss out the blue curtain, right? She's yelling, she's negative, and obviously mental illness, but she's been here since at least a year. They say she's been walking around 5 years, right? And I just don't know what like I tell people, people smarter than me and more money have can't solve these problems, right? So what I hope that I have, right? So what's your thoughts on those things?
Well, see, there was an elderly lady years ago. I remember, African American, who used to have a basket and she stayed out on the street and collected cans and stuff. She was a millionaire. She lived in a penthouse down here in downtown. What I really think people should understand is homelessness is a place where there are no taxes. Okay. It's a place where you can get out of the muck and mire of society. You have people with degrees, but homelessness didn't come from a degree. Homelessness came from homelessness, the street, down and out, not having an opportunity. You know what I love about those people that are homeless? They can tell you 24/7 what's happening on the streets, and the police don't even know that. So why I said one of our positive areas of resources are homeless. If you look at the rodents in the town and you say this building is full of rodents and you tear the building down, you haven't gotten rid of the rodents, because the rodents are going to come back to where the smell is that they created. Seems like a dog would go and use the bathroom where another dog used the bathroom. So we're not looking at the problem. The problem has to start to resolve it with the 3 L's: listening, learning, and then collectively leading from different cultural perspectives. people to an opportunity to be successful. We, we have the same issue with our young people. Our young people are doing crime, but you have to understand that we say bullying in the schools. You're bullied on your job. You're bullied at the gas station. Adults are getting bullied. Everybody bullies bully. Everybody's getting bullied. So is it bullying the problem? Or is it the fact that we're not yet helping our young people to be well-rounded enough to overlook the bullying and be successful by believing in themselves? That's what I'm bringing to the table. I'm bringing a sense of understanding of saying it's time for people to work with people and teaching them how to work with one another. I told them this was going to happen. I told elected officials, I've been an advisor to them for 50 years behind the scenes, and I've told them this was going to happen. And nobody, it's not that they didn't listen, but a lot of them wanted to get their resumes filled and get other positions on it. So that's what they did when they went through the classes and the training. Now we have a cultural competency problem with all these cultures here. We need cultural competency training. We need an opportunity to really sit down and see what's happening. Everybody wants the same thing, but they don't also want it at the same time in the same way. So homelessness can be resolved. We can get it under control if we understand the people. We can get crime under control. We will never get rid of crime because our country was built on organized crime. So you're never getting rid of crime. Crime pays too many people. So what you have to understand is crime can be put under control. Our young people can be put under control. We used to have a boys' home, Mickey Rooney boys' home, and all that stuff where you send these bad kids to. I got something coming for them. They want to act a fool and beat up. I had my grandmother beat up one time with my money, taking it to the bank. She lost the knee. And I was going back to Detroit to do some damage. And she told me not to come. So what I'm saying is the problems that we're having, I've lived through those problems. I understand those problems. It's not as bad as you think it is, but when you ignore everybody, everybody's going to ignore you on the reverse side. And they'll come to your house and take your stuff, and they will take you where they want to take you or your children. So we've got to get control of this again.
Yeah, I know a lot of people talk about crime, but I've been in this area in Harness for like a year, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've never seen anything crime going on, right? Of course, the crime does happen, and people talk all the time, all the like teenagers committing crime. When I was young, we had teenagers committing crime, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to happen. Right? It's not a new problem, right? I think we just like you said, we keep on using the same old tired solutions. We need some new solutions.
Well, if you don't give young people things to do, if you don't make them creative and use their creativity and their ideology, then you're going to have these problems. I was talking to the superintendent of schools the other day, and I mentioned to him, I have a program that I want to bring in. And the program that I wanted to bring in dealt with the opportunity to make sure that our young people are involved in each other and their mindset. So I said, you have to look at morals, values, principles, and ethics. That's the old school way of it. Okay, now you have civil liberties and all those things that we have to look at. But when you start with morals, values, principles, and ethics, what you have is have schools of moral, schools of values, schools of principles, schools of ethics, and allow our young people to debate the subject and see what it has come to today. And not, instead of, we don't even talk about it. Corporate America's gone. No, corporate America's not gone. You're not teaching them corporate America. And so when you get, and everybody doesn't have to go to college. You don't have to be alpha, kappa, phi, beta, theta, theta, meta, all of that. You don't have to do that to be successful. But we all have to respect each other, and we all have to unite and work with each other, because you're going to cross those sororities and fraternities, and you're going to have to work with them. So it's different ways to make this happen, and we need to have it all at the table. It's a salad bowl. Now it's a melting pot.
Yeah. So we're going to come back to homeless in a minute. So next question is a friend of mine, Shante. He is a small business owner in Tacoma. He wants to know, what did it take for you to get to the point where you want to file to run for governor? And what are some of the challenges you have to overcome with some of your accomplishments through life?
Back in Michigan, I was always a problem solver in my neighborhood. I stole one time, and I stole from my mother. I stole some coins out of the quarter coin jar she had on. But my father did it to me, because my father said, you better be the last one come home. You better make sure Ricky's home. You better make sure your sisters are home.
Were you the oldest?
I was the oldest
Oldest,
male.
oldest male.
There was
Okay.
5 girls before me.
Okay.
And you got to make sure everybody gets home. And if you're home and I see you, I see your butt, and I don't see all them in the house, I'm killing you. Now you have to understand the statement of that. The statement of that, they came from Mississippi. If they didn't kill you, they were showing up how to hurt you. And they meant that. That's what our parents meant.
And so your parents were part of migration from the south to the north for
Right.
jobs and economy, all that kind of
Right.
stuff.
My mother was 15. My daddy was 21. So, and they were considered the Hatfields and McCoys and Mississippis. They got along. So when I look at how that happened, I had to take something to feed the gang members on the street. I used to buy them big Butterfingers bars. It was about a nickel, and they were a nickel.
And this is Detroit, right?
Yeah, in Detroit, big Butterfingers and big Baby Ruth bars, because I knew the gang members hadn't eaten. Okay, and they called me Crazy D because I was crazy.
Yeah.
I'd hurt you if I had to when it came to my family. But I give them the bars, and what I didn't realize was the jar was going to diminish in coins if I kept using it, and that's how I got caught. And she beat me into beating me out of me. And my grandmother called and said, "You got to understand why he did that. He did it because y'all told him to make sure everybody was home." I'm telling you this story for a reason. We don't know the methodology behind the problem. And because we haven't taken the time to listen, learn from it, and then lead our young people or lead people, we end up in this deboglement of crime. And crime takes time to understand it. I have a daughter who's a state trooper in Tennessee. I used to carry her around on my arm, and she's never had a babysitter, never walked to school one day in her life. I took her there and picked her up every school, and she was abducted, raped, and molested in middle school. And I wanted to hurt a bunch of people for that, but our elected officials covered me. We had some good people that were in office then, and they were caring about our children. A lot of people don't care about our children now. So what I'm saying to you is we have to get back involved. Crime with these young people doing things. If you're in prison, guy in prison, he lost his territory. He's got babies with diapers. He's got to come out. He's got to find some money. You got him with a misdemeanor felony, which I wanted to put a program to sponge that. You got him with student loans. His girlfriend's got student loans. We need to sponge that. And when I told that to Congress and I told it to senators, they went about it the wrong way. That's why it hasn't been done properly. So when people want to listen to how it needs to be done, how do you think Seattle's gotten to this space and time? It was a lot of racism here in Seattle. And I'm going to say something that might surprise you. It's a lot of sports teams that had racism here in Seattle in 1976 when I was trying out. And I met this godly man named Jim Zorn who just hovered around me and tried to get me to stay. And I couldn't stay because I knew problems that I did not want to deal with were there, okay? It's gotten a lot better now, but we still have a lot of things we have to vet ourselves through. Our athletes go through problems and situations. Just because you got money don't mean you won't have the problems.
More money, more problems.
More
right?
money, more problems.
So random question, I'm just curious. You happen to know why your parents picked Detroit versus like Chicago or New York City or another city?
The industry. Manufacturing.
Manufacturing, okay.
My grandfather, his name was Doc Rivers. And I even heard that the Doc Rivers on TV, you see now NBA, is a family cousin. My uncle, Doc Rivers, he did not pick cotton. He was a train conductor. He was a mason. My father got pulled out of school the 3rd grade to pick cotton for my granddaddy. My grandfather made a car out of scrap. Ford Motor Company wanted that car. He would not help him. He would not sign it over to get it put in production. So a lot of people were coming from the South, moving north. But see, here's the problem no one talks about. No one talks about the problem of how racism and all these things happen. When people migrated north, the intelligence that they had working together and inwardly within themselves, once they got the factory jobs, they were better than the people that were in charge of the factories. So what happened was they had to bring in favoritism, nepotism, and all those things to keep the people down that were moving in. And a lot of racism started from that point.
I mean, didn't they discover that, in the South, racism like right in your face, like
Right.
racist,
Oh,
and North was more like, passive aggressive,
oh yes.
undercover,
Oh yes.
like, how you doing, Don? Nice
Yeah.
to see you. And
Yeah.
then,
That was my family. The McDougalls and the Rivers in Mississippi. My dad took me at 12. He said, "I want to show you this," because at 14 he kicked me out because I had 3 jobs full time, and I went to high school. At 16, I bought a 5-bedroom house myself and still going to school. So he took me down to Mississippi and he says, "This is where I grew up, and I see this fountain over here that's dirty and guy spitting in it, sitting there. I see another fountain next is white and clean." I said, "Dad, I want some water." He said, "Go over there and drink to that faucet over there where that guy is and get you some water." I took 3 steps toward it and then moved to the left and drank from the faucet that was clean.
Yeah.
All hell broke loose.
I can imagine.
But nobody touched my dad. Nobody touched me. My dad dragged me back and said, "Boy, why'd you do that?" I said, "Because what y'all don't understand and y'all fighting about, there's a 6-inch pipe up under the ground. It's running water to both of those faucets.
Yep.
And the water is the same. So why should I drink out of a dirty faucet instead of a clean one?"
Yeah.
Why am I saying that? I'm not interested in your racism. I'm not interested in you holding people back. I'm interested in helping people understand there's more than one way to get to the prize you want.
Yeah, people don't realize, like, I say sometimes, like, a lot of people are closed minded. A lot of people are like, 2 plus 2 is 4, right? Well, you get a 4 by 1 plus 1, 8 minus 4. There's more solutions.
Right.
But too many people, only 2 plus 2 is 4. No, it's not. Get out of your box, have more solutions.
Right.
So next question is from a guy named Jay Lyman. He's a librarian here in Seattle Public Library. He wants to know, so what Jay does, he helps small business owners starting out do marketing, right? Market research.
Beautiful.
His question is, what's your plan to support small business owners, especially since they're struggling right now? Especially like COVID, screwed over a lot of small business owners, all this kind of stuff. So what's your plan to help small business owners out?
Number one, I created the first small business incubator here in the state of Washington called Central Area Business Development Center. It was sanctioned and certified by Governor Booth Gardner back in the day.
And what year was this?
Can't think of it. In the 80s, might have been the 80s.
1881?
No, it could be 1981. Might have been 1980, somewhere in the 80s, 90s, 1980s, early 80s. And at that time, I was in a building that was owned by a Republican named Norwood Brooks, who was one of my Republican mentors. And I was able to take and have a meeting with the Greater Seattle Chamber of Commerce. And I instituted an opportunity through a Martin Luther King march with me and former Representative Jesse Weinberry. We were able to institute an opportunity for corporate and mentoring through small businesses and corporate entities. That started urban enterprise program, but at the same time it did not go the way that I wanted it to go. They had people that they had to use because of the good old boy system that they were in. And one person named Herm McKinney was losing his job from Seafirst Bank. And at that time, they were giving out $50,000 loans to small businesses. And I came to a round table and told them, if you give $50,000 to a small business, half of it they're going to use to buy a car and whatever, and then they're not going to have enough liquid or assets to go for a contract. And the same thing, it happened. Boeing gave a contract to a small business owner, and he had already used the money. When he went back to get more credit, he had already used too much of the money liquid. So what he ended up missing the contract. So what I have to say to that is, it's not a problem mentoring those with small businesses. What I do not like is the fact that we lost a lot of small businesses. We lost a lot of Washington State employees. They should have an opportunity to get their job back or some kind of reverence for that. And all of it was because when we have elected officials that don't know what to do, then people suffer from it. The elected official that we've been under for 12 years has no ideology of small business entity, exactly how to help a small business run. Now, what we plan on doing, there's 39 counties, 281 cities. We will be doing a county by county tour we're going to start.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that later.
Yeah,
Definitely.
economic tour. And what that's going to do is allow us to see what industries and what keeps that county moving. And those small businesses is to bring more businesses into the county. And we're going to do it diversifying cultures. Okay. Um, I'm going to give a little smart opportunity for a friend of mine who's mayor in Seattle. And I'm going to give him an opportunity to understand something. He had a good idea, but he hasn't really followed through with it. So I'm going to help him because we're going to have to work together. The new Seattle, downtown Seattle, must be multicultural business. It must be multicultural opportunities for every type of culture of business. Okay, we lost Bon Marché. Let's get some other businesses in here. And we can make it vibrant. Why? You got something like 30 cruise ships coming in, or 50. Make it a multiculturalism full of business and culture. And that would be our new downtown Seattle. Okay, Bruce, you can pay me for that later.
Yeah, one thing I think people get confused about small business, like according to the Small Business Administration, a small business is 500 and below. And so, so get like if you have a business with 300 people, you bring like $10 million of revenue, it's easy to get a loan.
Mhm.
But if you like have 25 people in your company, you're struggling, it's hard for them to get loans, right? Is there
Yeah.
any way to incentivize banks to like give a loan? Of course, you can't give a loan to everyone because everyone's business idea isn't
but
good.
you can help them be creative. And see, the creativity hasn't kicked in. If I own a shoe business, I saw a young lady, she had a shoe business. I own a shoe business, then I have to diversify the opportunity to repair shoes, to sell shoes, as well as to create shoes. Okay, so that's three different areas. And also, I have to look at the people that are well off and how they spend their money and how I can get involved with them to further my opportunity of my shoe business, my repair store, or whatever it is. So you have to diversify, and then you have to make sure that people are in for the long haul. Okay, you're not going to do well in the first 2 to 3 years of your business.
And so many people don't realize that. So many people, I'm gonna start a business, I'll be a millionaire in 6 months. No.
Well,
It's gonna take a long time.
You have a debogledness of understanding that's not there, of lack of understanding. A lot of people working 9 to 5 jobs need to own a business. And a lot of people that are own a business need to work a 9 to 5 job. So I did both. Okay. At one time I had 5 jobs I was mastering. When I retired, I had 3 full-time jobs for 50 years that I worked. So it's called continuous opportunities to work. But you have a problem when you just start your business and now you're 40. What did you do the other 20 years before? And see, this is what I'm saying. We have to get to our young people and help breed them to the point of they having opportunities and see a future in the present further down the road that's going to occupy them. That keeps the crime down.
Yeah. All right. So next question, all the stuff we're going to talk about, we're going to go back to it. I'm going to go with the last question. Next one is Renee Ratcliffe. So she's head of a thing called TVW, like the C-SPAN for the state of Washington legislator.
Mm-hmm.
She wants to know what's the structure of your campaign, and what do you see the pathway to victory? Like, how do you see yourself winning?
I'm very strong on dealing with women's rights. Women's rights are very important. My mother and my grandmother are both in their grave, but they raised me right. It wasn't my father that ever got me out of trouble. It was them. The strength of our society are the women of our society. The Eastern Stars, those that would take care and help brighten young men opportunities, giving opportunities to bright young men and women, and helping them to find themselves. You are never retired. You are rehired, and you're rehirable. So even if you have to rehire yourself, you may have worked a job and retired from that job, but then now that you say you retired from that job, you are actually employable to yourself to help in other areas. That's what I want to bring to the table to get people back involved. So it is important that we understand we're all in this together. It has to happen.
So next thing, so I'm a capitalist. I don't believe in socialism. However, like property tax for schools, right? I use Dallas, Texas as an example. Highland Park, $1 million homes, a lot of property tax. South Texas, I mean, South Dallas, South Oak Cliff, single parent homes, welfare, no property tax. I mean, it's like, how do you, I won't say fix that, but like people in Highland Park have a distinct advantage, two income families, making six figures, $1 million homes. And South Oak Cliff has no money coming in, right? And like I said, I don't think we should like tax Highland Park and give it to South Oak Cliff, anything like that. But it's like, this seems unfair, right? Is that just what the system is, or any way to fix that?
We have politicians, and see, I'm a public servant, so I have to deal with this a different way. And I've advised elected officials for a long time. And we have politicians that they're not creative. They're debatable. They're more involved with supporting these donors that got them in. For the last 20 years, I've paid myself. Okay, it's been grassroots, but I don't want to go in office owing anybody something that I know I don't like, and it's not going to help the people. But I got to keep on the books. Speaking of the books, there are old laws that are on the books. There are amendments that have to be made to adjust to the present and the future of what we live in now, today. That's not happening. So what you end up with when you talk about taxes, you end up with a person that's 80 years old, but now they're still paying property taxes. What in the world is that? You end up with a school levy. You don't have any children in school, but you're paying school levy, and it's not equal to the fact of recognizing your income. What in the world is that? You have a person that says, I bought my house, my taxes were $1,500. Now, oh, and I can give you an example. I had a millionaire who was an interior decorator, and he called me, and asked me to go to a meeting with him, got in his white Rolls Royce, and we drove to a building. And when we drove to that building, it opened up and it was a restaurant. And he told me, he said, I summoned you because I have a problem. I said, what's your problem? He said, I either pay my employees or I get rid of some property. What should I do? I said, keep the employees, get rid of the property, some of the property. And the reason why I said that is because property taxes was just destroying him. So I will be coming up with programs to make sure we amend the problems of property tax. Okay. Remember, taxes without representation is inflation. Okay. Taxes with representation is an opportunity for us all to have an opportunity to move forward. So I remember I talked to the property tax individual for King County, and I said, give people 3 payments that they need to make their payment for their property taxes. He made 2. There needs to be 3. When it comes to 80-year-old women that own a home and want to live in their home, there needs to be a type of memorial for them program that deals with the fact of keeping their house and their property taxes in a certain area where it don't go high and don't go any further high until they're not in that house. Then you can resell it and go from there. Now, when you're talking about new homes, there has to be a variety, but we can't have a house that's right next to the sidewalk and then tell somebody you don't own the sidewalk.
Yeah.
I mean, we taking the backyards and putting housing in the backyard is one thing, but putting 12 bedroom apartments behind your house that used to be a backyard, we went too far. And it's because we've caused this deboggledness. We have to find ways to create more opportunities for housing, and we have to do it creatively. I would invite the investors in of the millenniums, the X, the Ys, the Zs, and those that are already in office now. We have to work it out together. I'm not going to give you all my ideas.
Yeah. Definitely.
Okay.
So, Seattle's known as a tech hub, right? Tech, Microsoft.
Yes.
However, like there's a lot of manufacturing, a lot of like other business, like, Kent, Fife. I don't know if people realize like Trident Seafood is $1 billion fish industry out of Ballard, right? How do we like bring more jobs for manufacturing? How do we bring more non-tech jobs to the state of Washington?
I'm going to Denver and Boulder. They're doing the space industry and they're booming. I think what we've done was we have allowed the industry of space, the industry of manufacturing planes, we've allowed it to just steer itself into a mindset of carnalness where we don't bring in bright people with new ideas and brilliant ideas. We don't AI it enough to broaden it. I think that we need to look in the 39 counties as some other areas of opportunity to spread things out a little bit. I think Boeing has gotten too big and uncontrollable, and it shows it in itself.
Wasn't this on the news? Like recently, like Boeing, they're being accused of like falsifying 10 safety inspections or something like that recently.
Well, when you end up getting too big, where you can't deal with inspections, you can't deal with monitoring and mentoring people, then you're going to have a wing fall off. You're going to have a wheel fall off. It has to be vetted at every area. I would look to be working with Boeing to help them understand what we did with King County Metro Transit. I was an inspector. You remember the boat, duck boat that went down the road and the wheel fell off and killed all the people.
Yeah.
My job was to make sure the frame stayed intact, okay, for years. And so the main boats, you have to make sure that they're torqued right and all these things. So I understand the inspection piece of new manufactured products as well as those that are current. And we push stuff too far. We run those vehicles way beyond their life expectancy. That's happening with the ferry system. There was a mistake made where we wanted to put in 3 electrical ferries and buy them, but we didn't think about how long it would take to bring those into the flow of the new running of the ferries.
These ferries like 40, 50 years old,
I'm
right?
trying to tell you. But then so we ended up taking 3 out that instead of buying the parts to repair them, we set those down and said, we got 3 new coming. That shows you someone that doesn't understand the industry. Now we have a lot of employees that work for the ferry system, and I've talked to them. They're frustrated because, and you're going to lose good people. King County Metro lost good mechanics because they wouldn't listen to them. And I was there for 40 years to see it. So what you have to do is when they tell you there's a problem and you see the problem, you have to have an amendment for the problem, or you have to fix the problem. That's what this governor is going to do. I'm gonna do more than talk to talk. I'm gonna do the walking of it. I will do the making sure I have friends in all those areas to make sure things went right. That's a lot of work.
So Boeing, of course, I think they're a national asset. Like I think either Boeing or Airbus and France makes all the planes in the world. So Boeing, so government like pretty much let the free market take place. You know, if you're failing, you're gonna lose business, or so the government like kind of step in and like, you know, what's it called? The thing too big to fail, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, there needs to be some merging across business company lines. You can't always build something by yourself. Some of your product line and some of your manufacturing of new industry should be intertwined with Lockheed, should be intertwined with other companies. I mean, you know, it takes a lot of silver to make fighter jets. It takes a lot of silver to make jets. Okay, into the electronics and stuff. We have to make sure we're prepared for this and stop trying to dominate the industry. We're at a point now there will be no more domination. That era is over. It's time to work collectively across the aisle. And I go out of countries to different countries. When I go to those countries, I don't say I'm American. I say I want to learn your culture. Okay, I have a better time because they teach me their culture, and this is what we got to do.
When I go, I'll say I'm Texan.
Texas it's a big state.
Yeah. So next one, the current governor. 2-part question. Tell me one thing you think the current governor did well, and one thing you think he could have done better. Because everyone, to my point, everyone does something good, everyone does something bad, so to speak. What's your point on that?
I'm not here to criticize someone that's been in office 12 years because it says one or two things. Either we didn't know what we are doing for leaving him there for 12 years, or the fact that he knew what he was doing and we just don't understand what he did. Jay Inslee, I'm gonna mention his name because he's a friend of mine. Um, he's and I care a lot about him. But I remember growing up with people that were friends, and one reached across the other one and shot him with a gun and killed him and said, D, come on, let's keep going to school. Do you think I stopped the wait, or do you think I kept going to school? Okay, so not going to throw anybody off the bus because there's no bus. What I'm going to say is this: you have to consider who you put in office. There is if a guy or a person is a hay farmer, that means he grows grass, he waits for the grass to die, and then he sells it. That's a procrastinator. So if his character is the procrastination, then we must understand that we have to vet him by having people around him that understands things. When COVID hit in, it was my team that came up with drive-by testing, and we sent the information to him. Let's start drive-by testing because we never knew what it was. I'm going to say to him, thank you, Jay Inslee. Thank you for all of us that are still alive. Thank you for leading the way and having it on your shoulders. I'm not going to mess over him because he's a good man. He has a good heart. He has a good understanding. But we have to understand we need somebody now that are about all the people, not some of the people. Democracy has a problem now because democracy was always for a few. Now democracy has to be for everybody. And in order for that to happen, you can't just fire people because they don't get a shot. You know, you got to hire them back. You can't just hire a company to come in because you don't think there's a company intelligent enough to lead us through COVID in Washington State. Okay. So there are things that he's the only governor that I haven't been, I've been an advisor to the governors all the way back to Dixie Lee Ray. I never once stepped off in the office with Jay Inslee, and I'm the only black man that's ever debated him, and I won that debate. So what I'm saying is voters are now smart. They're smarter. You can't just take a picture with a voter and now think somebody's going to vote you in. That's not going to work anymore. People want results. They want somebody that has a phone system and a group of people that they can call up and say, I'm mad. Tell the governor I need this, that, and the other, and such and such and such. And there's an answer replied to that. That's what they want. And that's what they're going to receive. So I believe he did a beautiful job with what he had the ability to do because we're here. It's evident. But as far as employees, I would hire every one of them back, or I would sit down and have an explanation from them of how they feel, how their life was, because we put stress and problems on them when we let them go.
Yeah. Can you talk more about the Washington State Ferry? What's your plan to fix that?
Well, we have a ferry system that's not adequate.
Doesn't Washington State have like the most like miles of ferries and all that kind of stuff, like biggest water transportation in all the states?
Yes, they're working hard. You know, you have to think of the poundage and the type of engines it takes to pull cars over the water like that and stay afloat. Yeah. It's massive. And I think it's like a car dealership. We were talking, I'm on the way here about Tesla. People are buying used Teslas, but nobody's telling them that when the batteries fall out, it's $14,000 to $15,000, $17,000 to get a new set of batteries, and it's over the value of the cars. Same thing with the ferry system. I even want to not go past the ferry system, another subject, but our environment. I'm tired of Bainbridge Island, Vashon Island, and others piping their sewage through. They need a sewage treatment plant.
What do they send the sewage to Seattle, or what do they send it to?
It's on a barge. I'm hearing this is going on a barge and it goes across the water and is treated that way. That needs to stop. They're paying something like $750,000 a year just to get their sewage off of their island. That's a waste of funds utilized the wrong way. And county could have done something about this. but they're too busy making a profit and not helping the people. So that's an area. The Magnolia Street Bridge, that should have been a tourism bridge a long time ago. The scenery up in Magnolia, that whole area should have been tourism with all the ferries coming in. So I'm looking to put a new bridge there that deals with uh, having an opportunity for tourism and residential, and they both par away from each other. Okay, so it's things that must be done for our infrastructure to work. The ferry system will be fixed under my administration. It will happen because I've talked to too many of them, and they're frustrated.
So back to manufacturing, if everywhere you go, like you said before, causing for everyone. If you like, we don't have enough plumbers, not enough laborers, not enough woodsmen, all the non-collar stuff, right? Like, how do we incentivize people to go to the trades, right?
You start young. You got to start them young. You know how many young people would love to follow their daddy, their granddaddy, what they did, but we haven't glamorized it.
No.
We haven't taken it and said, "Wow, your daddy was a good plumber."
Like your daddy built this.
Yeah, see what my dad was. He was a concrete layer, and I told the city of Seattle, they were talking about the bridge that was cracking, and they had to put a new bridge up. And when I was running for mayor, I told them, I said, you don't need to put a bridge up. What you need to do is stop taking quick dry concrete and pouring it in the wintertime thinking it's going to seal and work, and it all it does is crack. Well, how did he know that? I worked with concrete growing up. Every morning at 6 in the morning, I was laying foundations. I laid the foundation for Ford Motor Company's owner's home. I know concrete. I understood that. So I knew what they were doing was wrong, and I knew was going to pay for it. You don't hear them saying, they're not building a new bridge. They replaced the concrete. They did some more structure work, and now it's a better bridge. So it's things like that that we have to look at. It's the people that have the know-how. When you talk about a garbage collector, I remember we had young people wanted to be a garbage collector, but we need to make it to the point where if you're going to get into garbage, understand that AI is coming in and make it a job sustainable. We're looking for sustainability in our jobs. So I think that if we go back to preschool and the kindergarten and help with the child care, we can easily help young people to find industries and things that they want to get into. And everybody doesn't have to go to college. Bill Gates didn't.
No.
Okay. And when Bill Gates created the computer, you know what Don Rivers was doing? With another ball player named Reggie McKenzie, we created reef manufacturing toner cartridges. And that industry still works today. So while he was building computers, we went to the printer side of it, and me and Reggie McKenzie we take toner cartridges and we remanufacture them and sell them back and save thousands of dollars to people.
So you brought up AI, right? Like, I don't know if people realize how much impact AI is going to have, right? It's going to change the world for better or worse, right? Like I've seen robots like cleaning bathrooms, picking agriculture, right? So what can like the government do, or should the government have any roles helping people transition during AI? Like should we bring on a unified basic income to help people pay for stuff since they're losing jobs? I know it's like a far-reaching question.
Well, you're talking across boundaries of the United States when you talk about that, because we've used our money in so many ways that we shouldn't have, that the value of it is not. I mean, when I see sheiks throwing $100 bills of American dollars in the air and swinging their swords and got people dancing, the value's gone. Okay. So what we have to do is bring the value back. If we're going to Bitcoin, if we're going to crypto, if we're going to digital dollar, we have to start helping people understand now how to diversify their funds that they have. And if we don't, what we're going to get lost, we're going to lose at, is we're going to end up changing things over into the AI structure, and China's going to be right there. And it's the hidden things we don't know about China is what's going to get us. That's the part of digital currency that we haven't worked out yet. So we have to prepare people, because if not, we were trying to give our industries away to foreign countries. Now we're looking to bring them into the industries back, but we got to learn to bring the capital and the currency back with it. Now, in order to do that, we have to look at who's all invested in it and what they're invested in. I've been to Russia. I saw the crude oil Russia has. I know that the first 25 feet of the Black Sea is oil before you reach the ocean in Russia, because I saw the submarines. They took me on a tour. I know exactly what's happening over there. But I also know that there are people here that were in office that did not want to help Russia manufacture their crude. So now you got wars. A lot of these wars didn't have to happen, but it's how we were so far out invested. We're not looking at Tea Party type of fights anymore. We're looking at the battle in Seattle. That's the piece we're looking at. And you're thinking about that, I'm looking forward to a black on black battle in Seattle. You know, you got Bird over there, unseasoned Bird on one side, and he definitely is an unseasoned Bird. And I don't think he needs to just take his opportunity and go back and try to get his felony expunged, because he messing with the wrong dude here, running in here in this state that I've been in 50 years. I don't care if he grew up as a baby doll. He can forget about it when it comes to what's invested in this state. It's not going to happen.
I mean, like, I'm not a politician, but you think common sense would say before you run, even before you run for city councilman, you would like get that expunged.
Yeah, you know, he hit it. Okay, he hit it, and he did. If he hit it then, and he was fired as a school superintendent, why do we want him as a governor? What in the world is this? You can't take care of the kids, and now you want to take care of the state?
So let me ask you this, right? So Washington State is like pretty much a Democratic state. Like, why even give him any? Why give him any like any play, right? Because like chance of him winning is like probably slim to none, I would think. I mean, of course I could be wrong, you know.
No, you know what? I'm gonna give the man his respect, but I'm good at mentoring. He needs some of my mentoring to help him expunge his record. I'm here for him. If he needs some of my mentoring to find a way to run for public office, then fine. He wants to get into politics. People like that, I should say he should start in a different way. Okay? And I understand what the Republican Party wants to do, but when you don't have it's like having a crossword puzzle and you don't know where to put the first piece down. That's just what the Republican Party did. They didn't know which piece to start. Usually what you do with a puzzle is you start with and find the centerpiece and you put that in place first and you attach everything to it. Okay? Bird is not a centerpiece. When you go to a grocery store, you go down one aisle to buy the chicken, the bird, and you go down another aisle to get the seasoning. So he's got to come to me because I'm seasoned, baby. Okay. And there ain't no time to play games in Washington State with people losing their lives with some criminal bird.
So one thing I don't see my Republican Party here is like, I don't know, Don, you remember this a few years ago? I think it was like 2016. The Republicans ran like a county sheriff as governor, right? The smallest county in the state of Washington, and they ran a county sheriff. I'm like, you can't find a senator or mayor. They run this county sheriff, right? I'm like, there's no way you're going to run a county sheriff against Jason.
Well, here's what's happening. I'm glad you said that, because I'm going to tell you what really is happening. I have advised elected officials all the way back to Dixie Lee Ray, and she was LGBTQIA+. And I loved her little dog. But I'm going to tell you right now, by advising elected officials, you learn a lot of things. You learn what they can't do, you learn what they won't do, and you learn what they want to do. And you don't tell those secrets, you help them to be the best that they possibly can. Somewhere we lost it. We stopped, and corporate America did the same thing. We stopped training people. We stopped preparing people to be in public office. And then we have those that been in too long. It should be a 3-term opportunity, and then you need to get out. This was not meant for a career. This was meant for an opportunity to make our livable state better for everyone. If you're not doing that, then you just like that statue that said justice is blind and she looking all the time.
Don, what's your take on term limits? Like for me, I'm actually a firm believer that, we have term limits, you get to vote people out. But now I'm beginning to change my mind because you have these, quote unquote career politicians been there forever, not really doing anything for the people, right? So term limits, good thing, bad thing? What do you think?
No, I'm I am for term limits. Here's why. This is not a career. I'm not doing this for a career. I've had my career. I'm doing this to make it better. When somebody walks out on the street and they don't know how to use their peripheral vision, like um, Eddie McMillan did when he played for the Seahawks, in the defensive back, people don't know how to use their peripheral vision. Eddie's peripheral vision is just as equal to his front eyesight. So that's the kind of place. This is where you got to live. I lived like that all my life. I knew that in Detroit. So what you have now is I'm going to go back to look. I will leave Seattle better because my goal is to look for young people and put them in office. I took a young soldier, and now she's a Superior Court judge. I took young people, and now they're NBA ball players, and they graduated from it, and now they retired. Okay, I took my baby girl that was in my arm, and now she's a state trooper in Tennessee with 50 miles of freeway. Stopped 47 trafficking trailer trucks, and her sheriff says, baby girl, you need to. We need to get you a baptismal pool because everybody wants to confess in the back of your car all the time because she was trained right. So we're going to take policing and take it to a level that it's never been before because policing needs to be restructured, not defunded, restructured. So when I went out there to stop them from all that marching, I told those young people, you're good organizers, but you don't have any negotiation skills. That's what I would teach you, how to negotiate. We have bright young people coming up in politics. I'm ready to mentor them to run this state. And that's why I'm running for governor.
All right. A lot of great stuff. We're going back to all of a minute. So a lot of people state of Washington has this image of being a liberal state, right? But I think you look at it, of course, Seattle's like liberal, Olympus is liberal, but like place like Pierce County is kind of conservative, East Washington conservative. When you're governor, how do you make sure you govern like the liberals, conservatives, or how do you make sure you're governor for the whole state?
Wouldn't it be nice to know how that is before you move into a neighborhood? Because you just said it. See, this was done with the Seahawks years ago. They would redline them where you could go and where you could not go, where you could live and where you could not live. And a friend of mine, I told him, you need to stop doing this and you need to bring a little more of this in your life and this, that, and the other, because it's not going to work for you. When you look at Washington State, we have the ability to be everything and not interfere with everyone. So I think in real estate, you don't just sell the house, you're selling the community. You're selling the opportunity of knowing the people that you're selling the house to in the community that you want to put them in. Why take somebody and forget the phrase that's redneck and put them in a black community? Because they can afford the house? Are you serious? No, you don't do that, right? But you let good African American people move in a white neighborhood that doesn't accept them and cause them problems, and you could have vetted that a long time ago. So somebody should have sued you behind if you're the real estate agent and you knew that these problems exist. What I'm saying to you is we have got to be serious about what we're doing. I will not take a person and put them in a government job if their character doesn't fit the job. That's suicide. That's why DSHS is like it is now and kids getting killed and raped and all that kind of stuff. That's why the housing system is like it is now. I'm going to take and put somebody there because they funded my campaign. So now I'm going to give them a 6-figure job or bring a friend of a friend in town and give him a job when it has nothing to do with resolving the problem. All of these things, it's a lot of work to do. And a bird can't do it.
So here's another question for you, right? So obviously Seattle has a lot of opportunities, right? Tech, jobs, whatever. How do we make sure that people like 16-year-old kid in Seattle, maybe reverse that. How do we make sure a 16-year-old kid in some rural East Washington town with 10,000 people has the same opportunity as someone in Seattle?
Mentoring, monitoring. 3 L's, listen, learn, and lead. When you have retired from a company, you owe it to the community, you owe it to the state to reinvest all the things you've learned back into the youth that hasn't had an opportunity to learn or opportunity to have a good life. That's where we do it at. There's a lot of young people that have criminal records that are good young people. We got a lot of beautiful young ladies out on the street on Aurora that have no business out there, but we didn't get none of the mothers out of the churches, or we didn't get none of the mothers that know how to help young people be good women. We didn't go get them. We let them fall through the cracks. Their aunties let them fall through the cracks. Their sisters let them fall through the cracks. We have to make sure we amend those cracks. I want to thank what was her, Jennifer Durkin. Jennifer Durkin was the U.S. Attorney General, and she cleaned up a lot of those problems when she was there as Attorney General. And she tried to hold the battle for the for the city when she was mayor. Okay. But one thing I like about her is she knew who she was. She know who she is. And she did not vet herself in the areas that she had no ideology of. That's what public servants do. That's what Christine Gregoire did. A lot of people don't know this, but I'm going to tell it. And she may not even want me to tell it, but I am. She called me years ago when there was AIDS in the jail system and saying we didn't want it to get out in the streets. And she called me and asked me, could they use condoms? And at that time, people were saying, no, the clergy don't want it, this, that, and the other. And I said, well, I want it. Put them in there. And they said, why you wouldn't do that? I said, because that person in there that's got AIDS, he's not coming out for a black young lady. He's coming out for a black or white, Chinese, or all cultures. I said, so what you're going to have is it's going to be infected all over the place if we don't put a stop to it now. I commend her for doing that. I commend Gary Lott for stopping the abuse of young people by guards in the youth detention center. He won't talk about it, but I was an advisor and my company went in and helped. So I know what needs to happen in this state. We need to come together and work together to make things happen.
Next question. So, obviously, most of the population of the state of Washington is in the Seattle, Tacoma, Olympia area, right? But it seems like a lot of people in the Eastern Washington state, they have like, I won't say inferiority complex, like they complain sometimes, like all the tax money is going to Seattle. What's coming here for us? Like our roads are broken too. Our infrastructure are broken. We need money too. Like, is it where to fix that? Was basically based on population. What's your point of view on that?
I think that when it comes to Eastern Washington and Western Washington, we haven't treated. We haven't acknowledged the areas of industry. We haven't taken the state and allowed opportunities where we could grow together as one state. That's why they're talking about being a separate state. Those things will happen because I would look to put someone over there with the best interest of bringing us all together, keeping us together with the issues and the problems that are in there.
So next, can you talk about like, of course, like I said, people talk about tech, manufacturing and stuff, but like state of Washington, in case people know, it's a big time ranching, farming, agriculture state, right?
Mm-hmm.
What can be done, like, help these people out, help farmers out?
The farmers?
Yeah. I know they're struggling too.
Actually, that's an area we can take young people and get them involved in that area of agriculture. And getting them involved in the understanding the industries. That's important. I think a lot of our inner city youth don't know the opportunities that are out in farming or in agriculture. And a lot of them probably haven't seen it. So taking an opportunity to getting young people out there to see exactly what farmers do and how they involved in the import-export part of it, of what we need to do to increase the funds and the revenue is important.
So that's bring us a good point. One thing I do like what Governor Inslee did, like I know he recently did a trip to Australia to help bring in import export to Australia. How important is like to import export to the state of Washington?
Well, now that we have all a vast amount of cultures here, it's important that they have an opportunity to have the food that they like, the garments that they like, that we institute that and bring them up over this way overseas, so they can be comfortable with the way that they live. We're not going to make everybody be American. You can only give them a title of American.
Can you do a deep dive on your 3 Ls, like where that came from, what, how did that all come about, and why it's important, so important to you for your values and your characteristics to lead your life with the 3 Ls?
I've seen too much go wrong in this state because people don't listen to one another. No one wants to hear what you got to say, or feel your burn, feel your pain, and understand that there's gain at the same time. The 3 Ls is a program that allows us all to listen to one another. When a woman walks out or a man walks out of a store, it is a person that's outside can tell you the danger that you're walking into that you know not of. I had that happen through a friend. We walked around. He had a speaking engagement. God rest his soul. He just passed away recently, sports person. And we were walking around to get him to speak in an area. And we walked around this place 4 or 5 times. And it was an elderly man that was drunk with a bottle sitting on the corner in the rain. And he said, I done seen y'all walk around 4 or 5 times. He said, the building you're looking for is right behind me. I drink in front of it every day. And said, what do you mean? He said, the sign, you can't see it because it's the nails off of it and it's hanging down sideways and the rain done made it faded. But they waiting on you on the inside. I'm saying that because a lot of times what happens to us is we're not listening to one another, because it's a lot of people that are hurting and they want to they don't want to hurt, but when there's no one there to help them, then they got to get rid of the hurt, so they go to supplements to do it or they go to the drugs to do it.
Yeah,
That's the listening part. The learning is understanding that it's a consistent battle. The leading is us all coming together and leading a piece of a problem into an area where it can be successful.
yeah. Too many people. What's the thing? They listen to respond instead of listening to understand, right?
Right.
Yeah. Next, defund the police, right? I'm like you, right? It's like I think you make argument money. Police need more money for training, right? They need the escalation training. Like how many police don't know how to shoot a gun? Like how many people don't know how do grappling, basic combatives? They just depend on the badge and a gun, right? So I think that, I know that's just hypocritical. I'm kind of making this up, but like one of the cities that defend the police, right? And like the city councilman or someone is like all for defund the police. And they came out like she had hired a security guard. Like, are you kidding me, right? So you want to defund the police, no police protection, and of course, police do a lot of things wrong, like everything, But putting with police, like you can't have any bad apples. I think as a police person, right?
We're going to re. I'm looking to reinvent what a police officer is. I dealt with this all the way back from racial profile. And the problem lies when officer goes through an academy and he's told the right way to police, and he comes out of the academy, he or she, and they're told territorial things that are needed to be done. We got drug dealers over here, and you can get a piece of the money if you do this, that, and the other. These are the things that have caused policing to go wrong. Okay. Um, all criminals don't go to jail.
Or say the dumb ones go to jail, the smart ones keep on making
All
crime.
criminals don't go to jail. Some go to hell, but don't go to jail. Uh, the the situa- the situation is, it deals with the fact that you have law officers that have jurisdictional power to do things that they've done, and they've done it for so long. And that's the same thing that happened in politics. They've done things for so long that they don't want to leave the things that they've done. Now we have to restructure the police department into policing the community, into understanding the community it polices. And at the same time, understanding how to vet the people. Just because you made a mistake don't mean you need to go to jail.
Yeah. You remember this happened recently? Like there's I think that some town in Washington State, this police officer got fired for like this police officer got fired for doing something right. He did something like he did something wrong. He got fired from the police department, and then Olympia hired him like 3 months.
Yeah.
And Olympia like they had a they it was like a they just like almost had a riot. Like, what are you doing, right? And they tried to, oh, we need police officers, but yeah, you need police officers, but you're gonna hire someone who's just like got basically fired 3 months ago.
Um, I'm gonna hit hard here, so you need to pay attention. I'm gonna hit hard because I know the insides and outs of all of this. The hard that I'm gonna hit is you do a mock trial with 3 police officers. You knew they were not going to be charged when you did the mock trial. You turn around and you give chicken nugget money out, and you go from there to taking and cutting money off the top of every lawsuit you do, and you think it's right. You had an opportunity when all this crime started to take every city attorney and bring them to your office and say, look, we're going to work together to stop this crime. You didn't do it. You let the black on black crime continue. You didn't invite the clergy in. You didn't invite the gang members in. You invited no one in. But you're going to take 3 officers and put them up and say they murdered somebody when you know they did. You can see it on TV that they did it. But this is not anything different. You've seen a lot of murders on TV anyway by officers, and no one stops it. So what I'm saying is this: in order to make things right, you have to have the people that want to do right in the position. And then you can't take a nerd and think they understand communities. Just because you graduated magna cum laude don't need you means you need to be voted into a certain political job when you have no community understanding of what it takes to run a police department. So what we have here is to restructure the police to understand the people in the community that they serve. And it's not hard to do. Instead of killing them, shoot them in the leg. I told my baby girl, she's a state trooper again, I'll say it. If you can't control the threat, get rid of it and call me.
I mean, I think the problem is most of the police don't know how to shoot right.
I'm
Remember, as happened a few weeks ago, happened in Chicago. Teenagers shot and killed a police officer, and then the police shot 100 shots, hit him once. Like 8 people shot 100 times, you hit 1 shot.
no,
Like what's going on here?
You know what that is.
Yeah.
That's fear.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
It's fear behind with a gun. A person that's got the gun is in more fear than the person that did that shooting. Okay, so what we have to understand is it would have been better to shoot the person in the leg or get them to stop than to throw 100 bullets all over the place in opportunity to injure other people at the same time. So we have to restructure the police department. What do you want a police officer to do? What do you want? And you need to add people on the street that know how to watch out for the community so that police work is not hard. We're getting to the point now like it was in Detroit. You'd have a shooting, police wouldn't come for an hour. You want to know why? They didn't want to get shot. I'm talking about mob crimes and all this other stuff. Police didn't come. I was there. They knew I was going to be there because I was a problem solver. I wasn't a snitcher. I never told nobody about anything. I cared about the community and what needed to happen in the community. I went up to people and said, don't bring that stuff to my community. Don't bring it in here. And so that's what we need. We need, if you want to call them an oligarch, fine. But we need people that want to protect the community. A cul-de-sac. We need people that knows when a car is coming in the cul-de-sac that don't belong there. It's not hard. You need to know when a car is still in packages and the person don't belong in the community. We have got to open out. You can't sleep all day. It's simple.
Don, is there a way to like get rid of this blue line? I think that's a big problem too. All these police officers. I mean, backtrack. Right? I always like, we think all police are bad. There are a lot of good cops out there doing great things, right? And we need them, right?
They're great cops.
But like, how do we get rid of this blue line? It just seems like a cop does something bad and they get behind the blue line and nothing happens.
What if I told you most of the blue line is not operatable right now? The problem is the stigmatization of it is still there. We have good police officers. I got some ball players that I've trained to be ball players that are police officers now, and so it's not just that the police are bad. The police are accountable. They're learning. They want to do good. They've had racial tension. I've interviewed the Seattle Police Department from the cultural perspective, and I was told by different deputy chiefs that they didn't want me to do that because they couldn't do it, but I did it, and I found out that you had redneck skinheads and four different other groups in one police department, and they all had their jurisdiction and their territory, and they wouldn't cross each other. They watched their 6, they watched their 12, and so it's friendly fire, and then there's just fire. So what we have to do is really stay in line with them. But I want to bring something else in that nobody ever talks about. How about the fire department? Because they're on the front line too. And if the fire department can do it and work with the homeless community and not have a whole heap of problems, the police can do it too.
Yeah.
And I want to commend the fire department for all those young men, women, and men that come to our rescue and that are always there to serve us.
Yeah, I'll push back a little bit. I heard someone say one time, when the police comes to your house, it's probably a bad thing. When the fire department comes, they're coming to save you, right? So,
Not necessarily, because the police can come to your house and they can come to save you too.
yeah.
Okay.
Plus, police departments, unfortunately, have like negative connotations. Fire departments are like seen as heroes, you know.
Right. So, and then there are police that are invested in certain neighborhoods and certain communities. I'll tell you one. When I first came here from Detroit, I ran into a police officer named Harry Bailey, and he was on a motorcycle. And he was every time I come out the house, he was always at the corner on Rainier Avenue, and he would say, "How you doing?" I said, "Man, I don't like no damn police. You better get away from me." And I was just rude to him and everything. He said, "There's something about you I like." I said, I ain't did no crime. Why you messing with me?" And every time I come out the house, Harry Bailey was right there. Harry Bailey ended up being the chief of police of the state of Seattle, Seattle Police Department. Harry Bailey was the deputy chief. And you know what Harry Bailey did? He brought me along with him to advise the police department because he knew I knew things that a lot of them didn't know. And then Chief Crawford, he was picking his deputy staff, and he asked me to interview all his deputy staff, whether or not they get the job or not. And I was able to do that. So what I'm saying, there are good police officers out here. Carmen Best, not only is she a model and understanding of the community, she was a good police chief. She was just she was way before her time.
I still can't believe that got rid of her. It's like,
Oh, I think, there's certain thing, and I'm gonna go back to women's rights. There's certain things about women that if you don't protect, they're not gonna stay around for the action to make them look bad. I commend her for what she did and was trying to do to make our city or make city of Seattle great. But there's times when this is the wrong timing.
yeah.
And you have the wrong people that are civil rights leaders in office or in position that can't help you. And I think one thing that could have happened and should have happened was find new people.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, right? So, like, I don't believe we need like a national police academy or nationalized police, right? But like example, like my hometown, Odessa, Texas, to be a police officer, you just need a 6-month academy. Arlington, Texas, you got to have a 40-year degree in criminal justice, right? And obviously, you would think the police in Arlington is way better than Odessa, right? So how do you like kind of like make sure, without having a national police or state policing, how do we make sure like the training is kind of more equal, right? To make sure every police, regardless of they're in Tacoma or Spokane or whatever town it is,
Well, actually, you have to decide what training is. Training is not the same thing, and that's why we have the problem. You want a book police, someone that's educated, or you want a police officer that knows how to protect the community. We have to make those decisions, and that's how we pick our law enforcement officers.
So next, so I'm a military veteran, retired Army officer, and I'll tell people I can't speak for every veteran, but every veteran I know either does edible psychedelics, magic mushrooms, LSD for mental health and PTSD, right? And what's your take on of course, marijuana is legal here. What's your take on maybe decriminalizing psychedelics and stuff like that for military veterans that use it for mental health?
I would have to get more opportunity to understand the situation.
Okay, yeah, I know in the state of Texas they get $10 million a year for psychedelic research. Um, the governor Rick Perry from Texas, the most conservative governor ever in Texas, he's a big psychedelic guy too. So
I was one of the first people to sanction cannabis, but I did it for municipal reasons.
yeah, nice. And so you want to increase the budget by 12.5%. What's your plan to increase it? Raise taxes, lower spending, and what do you want to do with the money?
More opportunities. There are a lot of people, a lot of cultures that haven't had an opportunity for economic success. For instance, black contracting. The state needs to have more opportunities for black contractors and more contracts. So I definitely see where all this can sponge off to other areas, making people more involved, and then you can create the amount of money that you bring in. I'm looking 25, 30 billion that we can do in 4 years.
So what's your taking on arts? How important is arts to
I
you?
love art.
Like museums, all kind of stuff. What's your plan? Make sure that gets funding or
First have to get with them and see exactly what they want to do, how they want to express themselves.
okay. You're doing this 39 county tour. Can you talk about that? The many details. Is a plan to talk to Rotary clubs, community members?
Well, I noticed a lot of times elected officials don't get to know the territory, and a lot of communities or citizens don't know the vast part of the state. That's why a lot of them live here in County. So when I ran for governor in 2020, came second in the party. My goal was to do some traveling, see different areas that I knew not of. And I noticed that people are really to wanting to know that someone cares. It's one thing to take a person's back, but not hear the person feel what it took to get that money, make that money. I feel that only right to have a governor that feels that. So I wanted to see if I could institute it into administration, the opportunity to be able to say, there's certain small businesses that I support and I'll be going to when I get into this county and that county. There are locations and areas that I like that you can meet me at and have a question and answering session, not just because it's campaign time, but because it's realness time. It's time for people to regroup. COVID threw everybody out, from the church all the way through. Clergy now have to reorganize themselves as to what ministry really is, and how to reach people in vast areas that now are asking questions that they never asked before. All these are quests of opportunities, and then to know what is sustainable in the economical backdrop of every county. what causes that county to move. And some of the first counties that reached out to me was Franklin County, Okanagan County. Uh, I learned that Okanagan County was full of surveyors and people that could help us put a new freeway together that's needed. We now need another freeway to relieve some of the anguish of all the freeways that we have. They're outdated, and too many are traveling on it. As our population increase, our ability to update our infrastructure is important. And that's why we're doing such a heavy move towards getting the light rail together. But the taxation in that has to change so that those that felt the pain all the time gets relieved of it as it goes further.
Do you already have your schedule set out? Like when you're going to these 39 counties, is that public already so people know when you're going to be there?
No, we haven't put it public yet. We're about to do that. What I'm looking to do is get that information out and be it on the website. And we will be talking, having opportunities for question and answering in each area. What I've done is we started in Vancouver, the border of Vancouver, BC, Whatcom County, and put signs there, and moved all the way up to Everett and put signs. Then we went to Vashon Island. We went to Bainbridge Island, put signs there, and heard from all the people in those areas. And then we're moving next to Vancouver, Washington area. I think that's Thurston County or Clark County.
It's
Might be,
Thurston.
yeah. And then back toward King County that way, hit the counties over in that area. And then lastly, we would do the Spokane.
So next question, what's your take on like how do we improve mental health and or senior care? Like I think they're two separate issues, right? But talk about mental care and senior care.
So you want me to talk about mental health, mental care, or which one you want to start with?
What do you want to talk about?
Let's talk about the fine, the $100 million fine for not having the proper mental institution or program in the state. A lot of our felons come from that. A lot of our atrocities come from not being astute in the area of mental illness to really have grassroots to know when it's starting and when it's failing. There's a starting point of how a person thinks, how a child thinks, how they react. They can give you a pattern. I even think that pattern needs to be shown every time a child moves to another grade or a different level of schooling, from elementary to junior high to high school. There should be a mental wellness package that goes with it of sustainability to know the child, so we can vet that child properly. Hats off to all the teachers. I really look at that now. They earn the money they get, and we owe them money now because they're not paid enough. But as a governor, education and the education system is my responsibility. So looking at the mental aspects of it would be, how do we get the proper mental care to a child that's acting out or not understanding their actions, period, and don't notice it? How does a parent be open about their family and those mental problems in the family? When it comes to the $100 million fine, I'm looking at putting together an amendment and ask for a reduction of the fine. Surely we could use 50 to 75 million of that 100 million to develop a proper institution that has 5 different clinics around the state of Washington. Everybody can't go over to Western Washington. when there's a serious problem or a small problem. We need to have better locations where we can get to the problem at hand and stop a lot of it beforehand. I say that because being a student in school, I know areas of people that went certain ways that didn't have to go that way. And because there was nobody there to vet them, they ended up a criminal.
So I don't know this, but like down where I live at in Steilacoom, this Western State Hospital. It's a mental health institution. Is that the only one in the state of Washington, or is it like several other mental health
I
hospitals?
think there's some others, but they're not adequately equipped.
I know Western State's always in news, like getting
Right.
fined or like some ADHD comes in and like they're inadequate care. Like ever since I've been here,
No one's wanted to tackle it. Remember, we have had elected officials, politicians per se, people in office per se, that didn't think that was a viable problem. But I know of a young man that spent 25 years behind bars when he should have been evaluated within 5 years in a mental institution and released. So we have people that have been sentenced and doing time unfairly because there's no mental aptitude of understanding what the problem is and how to vet that problem. So it's a lot of work. It has to be redone. It's going to take more than the 75 to 50 million that I'm asking to be fined to be reduced. It's going to take possibly another billion or close to it, 700 million, to really get an adequate facilities, because there are a lot of people that can be saved in that area that are falling through the cracks, and they don't have to. They shouldn't have to.
yeah. Back to police real fast. One thing I think is not fair. Like we expect policemen like fight crime, be mental health people, right? And they're not trained to do it, right?
No, police are not trained. Uh, a lot of a lot of policing works in the area of a record, and the record of a person is not necessarily the person at that time. And so the whole format of policing has went the wrong way. You know, you've heard times when police go to areas and they're drawing a gun and they didn't have to. That needs to be something that's worked on.
So next, talk about I think it's called rent control. Like, of course, Seattle is a big problem where all these like tech people come in, rent goes up. Because, like, example, like we're now in Pioneer Square. This is a hub zone, right? Supposed to be an economically disadvantaged area. However, I have two friends that live in the area. One friend pays $2,500 a month for a 600 square foot apartment. Someone else pays 3,000, like 800, right? Obviously, that's like way too much money, right? So, what you take a rent control is like, should the government get involved in that kind of stuff? Like, how do you? And the second part of the question, like during COVID, we had a lot of people didn't have to pay no rent, right? Because of COVID, right? But the people on the houses, they had to stay out of pay, right? Was there any kind of relief for these people? 'Cause, like they're not taking no rent, they're losing money. I don't know if there's relief for them or not.
The whole situation has to be rethought. Um, there were a lot of owners that missed profit, and had to take a loss. But there's profit it's profit, there's gain, and there's losses in any business you do. Uh, it is for the opportunity of that owner to try to vet some of the sting by being ahead of it. One thing to be current and present is another thing to be forth thinking and think into the future of what's going on. COVID lasted a long time. A lot of things could have been done, ideas from my mindset that could have helped those that were in the area paying rent to pay that rent. And on the same time, the government is at fault also. They passed out money, and it was like a fear factor when they passed the money out, and they didn't properly vet it. No mentoring, no monitoring of the funds that they passed out. Why would you pass out money to individuals and then they don't pay their rent? So it's not the owner's fault as much as it is the government's fault, because it was free money And then a lot of times, even when you did the stimulus checks, you didn't let people know that they had to claim it on their taxes later. Um, a lot of that threw people off. So COVID was a scary time, wasn't thought out properly, but we learn from our mistakes and we do better. Um, there are bigger crises coming, and we have to prepare for those crises more than a mudslide, more than a flood, more than an earthquake. It's how to how do we help people to be sustainable and understand you don't always live above your means. You have to live sometime within your means in order to have something that means anything at all.
Yes. You bring a good point. Like you, other politicians gonna get asked all these questions, like, how you gonna handle different emergencies, right? But the fact remains, like, whoever gets elected, emergency is gonna come up. You have no idea, right?
No
It
idea.
might be an earthquake, fire, economic collapse. So having said that, what's your plan like to like deal with crisis?
Well, let me put it. Martin Luther King said he had a dream. I don't do much dreaming, but you have to go to sleep. I'm a visionary. I'm proactive. I'm not as much as reactive. And even when I have to be reactive, I am reactive in a proactive atmosphere or environment of thought pattern. So I'm always looking ahead of a problem, even if there is a problem. So what I'm saying is that's how government has to think. It's easy to come to the rescue, but you must understand when you come to the rescue, you're going to be dealing with those that have lost their lives in the time that it took you to come. I have some ideas on a readiness program. I was involved in the first disaster preparedness readiness program that was done in Washington State at Overlake Christian Church. And when I walked in on the mock uh, layout that they put together, I had to say to them, stop, redo this, because you didn't consider people of color. You didn't consider the aspects of everyone. And it we started over and took a broader sense of understanding of what's needed. Um, that means our fire department is going to have to be active. Our churches are going to have to be activated and active. Um, the Catholic Church has always been there in some sort of area of crisis to help government out. And we have to sustain an opportunity to use those areas more often and creating a new opportunity to get ready for the future of whatever comes.
So I also have no knowledge about this. I'm presuming the state office of governor is a high stress job, right? And so the people of Washington deserve someone who's kind of healthish, right? So how do you take care of yourself? How do you make sure like you take care of yourself, physically, mentally, spiritually?
Prayer and supplication. Um, I don't resolve problems. I ask for problems to be resolved. I pray that problems be resolved. Um, I keep a group around me of advisors that helps me understand the weight. It's like a weightlifter. I used to be I have a baby brother that was a bodybuilder, but I did it for sports. And I remember when I overused the weight and abused the body, and a lot of my shoulders swollen, and a lot of other things were torn. It's a balancing act. I have to decrease in areas and be willing to help people increase. I live my life that way. So it's not a foreign notion. It's automatic for me. No, I don't use every dime I have. I don't look to save every dime I get. But I do understand there are things that I would desire, there are things that I need, and there are things that I'm going to automatically just want to
Yeah.
have. And you have to balance that all out. And it's the same thing when it comes to stress. I would love to be there that of every parent that has lost a child in a shooting, an accident, but that's where you have others that are on your team to represent you to do that. So it's about delegating as well.
So last question before you get out of here. What can the people of Washington expect from you when you're the governor?
They can expect to have a governor that has always um, been there to resolve problems. I've given the state of Washington 50 years of my life. I came here a young, sprouty young man, able to leap tall buildings, and I didn't do it in a single bound, but I did it. And as a seasoned early senior, I have an understanding where I can't leap, I can walk around it, get involved with it. So you will have a governor that looks to be there for you, can't answer every call, but would like to let you know that you have been heard, that I will listen to you, I will learn from it, and I will continually look for ways to lead you to be successful and have a quality way of life.
Don, is the best way for people to reach out to you in your campaign? Just go to your website. I'm guessing all your social media and stuff is on your website. People out.
Exactly. It's all
Okay.
there. Everything will be there. They'll be adding different pictures as we move around. Uh, we're asking for donations to buy signs because there's 39 counties. So we have to make sure that we put signs in those counties. And it's small donations that helps us to move along. And not only do we want to get the word out, we want people to reach out and we want them to know we want to use their funds wisely. And those that we don't use, we definitely will make sure you have it back or that we don't take it. It's just time to clean Washington. It's a sweep clean. It's time to clean Washington State up and let's do things the right way. For 4 years, I can guarantee you.
Yes. Don, forget if there's anything else you want to say to anyone or anyone to talk about.
I'm so happy that I've been able to live my life in Washington to this time of 50 years of, being here. I've seen the growth. I've seen the Nordstroms be successful. I've seen the Pay and Save Corporation be not successful. I've watched those lead us and make a profit. Those take a loss. And I've watched people grow, watched people fail. But through it all, we're still here to do positive things for everyone that we possibly can. And we have to develop a program for those that are coming in. It's not just come to Washington State and not be known of. When you come to Washington State, we want to know you're here. We want to know what you bring in that's positive to help. And if you just bring in negativity in or crime, we got something for you. Trust me. I mean this with my heart. We got something for you. Because we don't believe in crime. We believe in an opportunity for people to prosper. So you will have a governor that definitely loves to look out for the seniors, loves to listen to the seniors, and loves to love people.
Don, thanks for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jason. Appreciate you.
And to our listeners, thank you for your time as well. Remember to be great every day.